Welcome back to our pregame show. It is a big week, obviously. Cyhawk game, Iowa State. We're in the Wild Rose Casino studios. We've got lots to talk about, but before we get started, we got to shout out some of our friends over at Fairway. Guys, if you love meat, head over to the Fairway store. They'll get you covered. You'll be best friends with everyone at your tailgate if you grab some. Those Iowa fans might even like you for the weekend if you bring some. So head over to Fairway. Thanks to them for being such a great sponsor. And also our friends over at McFarland Clinics. Dr. Greenwald and Warmy are incredible over there. I've been there a couple times and I always leave better than when I entered the front door. So shout out to them for their great sponsorship. Well, we've got lots to talk about.
We have a lot to talk about. I hate Cyhawk Week. Have I ever told you that before?
Me too. Look, I'm literally getting red just thinking about it because it stresses me out being like a house divided. My family's talking about Iowa and then Iowa State, and it just it's a lot. But these teams, this game like the back of your hand. Kind of walk us through a rundown of this matchup for this week.
Well, so I'm going to try and avoid giving some of the same analysis I've done on my other shows just to not be repetitive. I thought I would go through just like the general macro matchup. Iowa's defense is the best group on the field. I don't think Iowa State's offense is too far behind it, but I think you have to put Iowa's defense like number one unequivocally. The track record speaks for itself, what Phil Parker's done. And they just have such an identity that Iowa defense does. You know exactly what they're going to do, but it's like one of those try and stop us type things. And that's what I respect so much about that organization is they hate them, but God, they don't change for anybody. Like they're going to play this team the same way they play that team. And it doesn't matter if you're Ohio State or if you're Illinois State or if you're Iowa State or if you're Michigan. And it's really difficult to beat that defense. But what's fun about this is I truly do think, Leah, that Iowa State's offense is good enough to go in there and win the game. Not just compete, not just, like that game 2 years ago that Iowa State won. It kind of felt like you just outlasted them. Now, Hunter Deckers and Jairo Brock, they had that great drive to end the game, one of the most iconic drives in Iowa State history. But it didn't. You won the game. And you beat them fair and square, but it felt like, man, just kind of outlasted a team with a really terrible offense. You won it ugly, but nobody wins ugly better than Iowa does, and they do it with that defense, and their special teams is always incredible. So really, it's strength on strength. Iowa State's offense versus Iowa's defense, where the big question comes in that I don't think anybody can figure out, and I certainly can't, is how Iowa State's defense is going to fare. Without Caleb Bacon, and just really injuries throughout the entire linebacking core. I know we're going to get to that, and where is Iowa's offense at? Like I have a hard time completely buying in that them scoring 40 against Illinois State last week is like this sign of great things to come for them, like because they've been so bad for so long. I need to see more. So really, it's Iowa State's offense, strength on strength against that defense. And I think the other side of the ball, when the Hawks have the ball and Iowa State's on defense, I don't think anybody knows what to expect. I think that it's going to be a really interesting matchup as far as that goes.
I think so too. But obviously we talked about Iowa's defense being so strong, and Iowa State's defense is pretty great. They only gave up 3 in week 1. So do you think that this game this Saturday is going to be a low scoring game like it's been the past couple of years?
Probably. I think that your natural brain on how this game will go to that. And the reason I say that is more because of Iowa than Iowa State. I don't think Kirk Ferentz, when he watches Iowa State's tape against North Dakota, is going to scream like, hey, let's challenge that secondary, because Iowa State has a really good secondary. They have good cornerbacks. And I don't know if I'm Kirk Ferentz. Like, I think you have faith in Cade McNamara, your quarterback, and definitely Luke Lachey, your tight end, and some of these wide receivers at Iowa are supposedly going to be getting better compared to what they've had. But like, you're attacking Iowa State's strength in that sense. They're going to attack Iowa State's weakness, and that's in the middle of the second layer. And that could make it a very short football game as far as that goes. And then you also have to look at what Iowa's defense is designed to do. And they give you 5 yards here. They give you 7 yards here. They don't give you deep shots. So with that, I see the clock running. Maybe there's some efficiency with both offenses, but I think the possessions are short. And that leads me to think this is going to be a game in the high teens, low 20s at the tops.
Yeah,
I
agree with you.
I want to real quick. I want to thank a couple sponsors. Do you guys want to go to Aiden? Do you want to go to Ireland? Should we all go to Ireland? Staff retreat to Ireland. Aiden's in.
I was hoping you'd pop in.
Yeah, Aiden's popping in right there. Okay, we're all going to Ireland because we're gonna give a call to our friends over at the Aer Lingus College Football Classic in Dublin coming up next year. That is not next week. God, I don't have time for that. You can visit cyclones2ireland.com. All details on official travel, hospitality packages. That's the Cyclones, the number 2, Ireland.com. They have a bunch of different days, like a 4-day trip, 5-day trip, all kinds of stuff like that. Cyclones2ireland.com. Also, my friends Judd and Joe over at Centurion Stone of Iowa specialize in all kinds of stone products, but I hired them 2 years ago to do fireplace in my living room, and it turned out fantastic. I'll get it for Aiden to post a before and after on one of these pregame shows, but they've been a great supporter of what we do here at Cyclone Fanatic for many years. We appreciate them very much for allowing Leah and I to come on and do pregame for you each and every Saturday. All right, what else you got for me, Leah?
We talked Iowa State's defense a little earlier. What do you think Iowa State's going to do about this defensive situation with Bacon still out?
I mean, my mind. So Cale Brazina, the true freshman, he missed last week. He was suited up. I think he's going to play. So at least you're getting one guy back. The problem I have there is that he's a true freshman. He's never played before, and you're in Kinnick Stadium. Like, that's tough.
Right.
I think that kid's going to be really good. I think he's going to be in the NFL, but that's a tough assignment, right? Reminds me a little bit of when Mike Rose did that. His first start was at Iowa that one year, however many years ago that was. Makes me feel old. But I think that there's an opportunity to bring Bo Freeler up, creep up those safeties. That's what I would do. John Haycock tends to be very conservative in the first quarter of football games where he likes to Iowa State plays with this 3-man front, and he likes to feel out the offense and see how much pressure the 3 men are going to be able to get. I just don't know if that's going to be the case against Iowa. I think Iowa State's going to be hyper aggressive, creep those safeties up. And it's one of those deals like the old next man in thing with football, right? Like that's what everybody says. But sometimes, like when you're so depleted, Iowa State's down 4 linebackers potentially for the year. Like I don't know the situation with like McLaughlin and all, but like potentially for the year. So you're already down to third string in a couple of spots. That's tough. So do you get away from your base and bring a Freeler up and play with 5 in the secondary, which probably what I would like to do, or do you truly do the next man in and say that third string guy is taking reps at that position and we trust him and we're going to bring him in there? I don't really know how they will do it. Do you play with 4 down linemen more, which we heard a lot about in the offseason, didn't see it much in week 1 against North Dakota? There are options there, but again, it comes down to an identity. And Iowa State's defense, much like Iowa, when Iowa State's defense is clicking, it has an identity. It's the dime stack. John Haycock invented it, and he changed the sport of football when he did so in 2017. And when you get away from that, when you all of a sudden are playing with 4 down linemen when you're not used to it, and you're changing up your identity, that gives me a little bit of a concern too. The good news is I'm not the one making the decision. John Haycock's a lot smarter than I am. But I do think there are options, though. I don't think this is like a doomsday for the rest of the year for Iowa State. I do, Leah, think it's a terrible matchup this week. I would much rather be playing Houston or some Big 12 team than a team like Iowa that I know is just going to pound me up the middle. Like that's what makes me nervous about this football game. Yeah.
So does Iowa State need to play it safe or do they have to be a little risky to pull off a win here?
I hope they're risky. Like
me too.
Yeah. I want them to throw it 60 times.
Yeah.
I want them to put the ball in the air and test Iowa's secondary. I trust Rocco Beck. I think Jalen Knoll and Jaden Higgins and Ben Bramer are the best athletes on the field. And that's what I hope they do. Because I don't believe Iowa State's going to consistently be able to run the football against Iowa. I don't think Iowa State will consistently run the football against many teams until they get their passing game going and it'll open up things with the run. The problem is it's exactly what Iowa wants you to do. They try and bait you into these scenarios. I trust Rocco, though. I think Rocco Beck, between the ears, is as good as anybody Iowa State's ever had since I've been covering the team. Between the ears. Doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not the most athletic, not the most mobile. He doesn't have all that stuff. Coach's son, I think he's really good at seeing the field. And I hope Iowa State's got, a 34-year-old offensive coordinator. All these young kids out. Go out there and sling it. Live like Leach. Let's go. Get after it. That's what I hope that they do. However, high risk comes high reward. If you do that, that's how you could end up losing by 17.
But that's kind of fun. I'm ready to run through a brick wall. That was good.
Let's go. Yeah. Thank you. Well, yeah. I've only been thinking about this game every hour for the last 7 days. Okay, so
you just dream about it. It just in your sleep.
I'm so sick of talking about this game. Now, granted, I wanted to talk about it with you and Aiden.
Yeah, thanks.
But I don't feel like I can break down this game anymore.
No.
But this is good because you're bringing things out of me that's like a fresh perspective. What else we got?
I was going to say that was a really good, energetic answer.
Thank you.
How will the game plan change from week 1 to week 2? You've kind of touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a different team.
Right.
And I think last week they were super vanilla. And, I got to thinking about it too. I totally overreacted to the end of that game. You were right. I was wrong. Write that one down. Go ahead and mark that clip.
Oh my gosh.
Leah was right. I was wrong.
Post it on Twitter.
I was wrong. I mean, Matt Campbell's done that every opener he's ever had at Iowa State, where they don't this is a guy who, when he says, "Oh, trust the process," and I love the all that, he means it. He's not. This is the way he lives. I've talked with Campbell a lot about this stuff, and he's given me authors that he reads, and I've read them, and this is a belief system that this man truly lives his life by. And part of that is he expects his team to be completely different in week 12 compared to week 1. And it is a build. And I think he likes to just kind of see what he's got in week 1, and then they get after it, assuming that you can win that game, which more often than not they do. So, yeah, I think the shackles are off as far as that goes. I just hope Iowa State goes out there and tries to dictate how this game should look.
Yep.
Because too many teams get sucked into Iowa's boring, this just horrible style of football. And I think this Iowa State team is capable of doing much, much more.
I agree. All right, what's your score prediction?
You're not going to be happy with me.
I know. I can already tell. Well, actually, I kind of thought you changed your mind after that little whole exciting spiel. I'm like, wow.
Here's the deal. I truly am 50-50 on this. I wasn't in the offseason. I gave Iowa State an edge. Iowa's offense, wherever it goes, is better than I thought it was going to be, at least in week 1.
Yep.
It's truly an injury-based pick for me, and I think because of that, this game will be uglier than I want it to be, and nobody's better at winning ugly than Iowa. So I'm going to pick Iowa 20-17, but I know, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to, because mine's the same exact thing, but opposite.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's perfect.
Great minds, brilliant minds right here. Boom, boom. Yeah, but I say that, and I truly think it's a toss-up. Clearly, Las Vegas does too when you look at the point spreads and where the numbers have been going with this thing. We're all confused, and I think it's 1 or 2 plays will dictate this game. Does Iowa State have a bad turnover? No blocked punts, crap like that have really hindered the Cyclones in this football game because, again, that's just what Iowa does so well. They bait you into these situations, and if you screw up, they're always there to pounce on it. I think that we'll look back at this and there'll be 1 or 2 plays and you go, yeah, that was the difference one way or another. Hopefully the Cyclones are on the better end of that. I'm gonna do the old emotional hedge here too and pick Iowa 20-17. But I do think this is anybody's football game. I think that we all, both sides, overreacted to week 1. But if the Kalen Bacon thing, I can't get past. I think that plays right into what Iowa wants to do. So I'll give the Hawkeyes the benefit of doubt for that. But again, hope I'm wrong. No doubt about that.
Yeah, I hope you're wrong too. It just feels wrong if I picked Iowa.
You can't.
No, yeah, it just does. It just wouldn't. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. So.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate the Hawks? Not like the humans, just the Hawks. No, that Tiger Hawk logo.
Like 11.
That a girl. That's fair.
As an athlete, that's how it is. I get
it. I get it. I would be disappointed in you if you went the other
Thank
way.
you. But yeah, so I'm saying Iowa State 20-17. That's kind of fun of us.
Look at us. Great.
Look
And
at
we
us.
both
Who would've
went with
thought?
the
I know.
black and white gear today.
We're on the same
So
wavelength, because
let's go.
you're big.
And
time
you'll be
now,
with
so.
me at halftime and post game this week,
Yep,
right?
I'll be at halftime, post game. So make sure you check back in. Again, thanks to our friends over at Fairway, McFarland Clinic, Centurion, Stone of Iowa, and Aer Lingus.
Let's get after it. We'll see you on Saturday, Leah.
Bye, everyone. See ya.